It's time to tune in to Defending the Faith with Frank Harber. Hear the latest about religious liberty.
A win for religious freedom in one of the remaining blockbuster cases facing the U.S. Supreme Court this term.
A legal battle continues for the Little Sisters of the Poor for nearly a decade now.
A street preacher armed with a speaker, a microphone, and a camera strapped to his chest is now banned from the village.
Our founding fathers believed in the separation of church and state, but not for one fleeting moment did they believe in the separation of God and government.
And powerful apologetics. Are you prepared to defend the faith?
I'm convinced unless we trust in God, this nation is finished.
We're facing a new kind of enemy. We're involved in a new kind of warfare, and we need the help of the Spirit of God.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another episode of Defending the Faith. I am Frank Harber. I am your host. I am the President and Chief Legal Counsel for Defending the Faith Alliance, and I am a religious attorney. Our alliance defends the faith. We defend Christ. We defend churches. We defend Christians all across the country and help them maintain their ability to speak truth to the world. One of the big things that we do is that we help churches. And so we have a new thing called Church Shield that you might want to tell your church or pastor about, where we cover the 8 core documents of the church, things like articles of incorporation, bylaws, making sure that the proper language is in there so that your church can have religious freedom and religious autonomy, so that you don't have to compromise on your church's beliefs concerning things like marriage and weddings and other things that you would do at your church. It's very, very important. And so we cover all the documents and make sure that a church is provided for. Also, one of the things we do is we also provide free wills for people in these churches and give them the opportunity to leave a bequest to their church if they so incline. But the wills are free to any of our Alliance church members. If you're not a member of one of our Alliance churches and you want a free will, you can still get one with us, and you can join our Shield program. And we have several Shield members, and we would love for you to be a part of it and help us protect religious freedom across the country. You can find out more about that at defendingthefaith.law. So right now we're going to join our program in progress, and we pray that you will be blessed by what you hear next. Welcome to another episode of Defending the Faith. I am Frank Harber. I am your host, and I am the President and Chief Legal Counsel of Defending the Faith Alliance. And we defend the faith. We represent churches and ministries all across the country, and we talk about things that affect Christianity. Now, my favorite thing to talk about is churches. And we have over 100 churches in our Defending the Faith Alliance. And today we have a pastor. In fact, he's president of a bunch of pastors here in the great state of Texas, Dr. Ronny Marriott. Welcome to Defending the Faith.
Thank you, Frank. Good to be here, man. Appreciate it.
So tell us about who you are, who your family is. I know your beautiful wife, Robin, because we've been to Israel together, and our wives know each other. But tell us, who's Ronny Marriott?
Cool. Ronny Marriott. Like I said, pastor, grew up in Texas, born in Texas, grew up in Dallas area. I'm a father, had 3 kids, all adult, so we're empty nesters, which is awesome. Love that very much. All of our kids are doing well. I've got one as a flight attendant, one as a pilot, and then one as a teacher coach. So they're kind of spread out all over the state as well. And my wife, Robin, is a real estate agent. And we've
very
been
successful one.
Very successful. Yeah, things are going very well.
Yes.
In that crazy real estate world. And we've been married for almost 37 years. So, yeah.
And you live in this town called Burleson.
That's right.
Tell us about that. And I think you work over there too.
Yes. Yeah. Pastor First Baptist Burleson, which kind of makes it convenient to work and live there too. So, yeah, I've been there 7 years this past month. So, yeah, it's been amazing. Got a great church, great staff, and it's a growing area. So we're having a lot of fun.
Now, I heard a rumor that you went to Payne University. You ever been to Brownwood before?
I did, yes. That's where my wife, Robin, in fact, and 2 of our girls ended up going to Payne. So, had a pastor in my church that graduated Howard Payne. I had never heard of that. I thought Brownwood was down on the border, but that's Brownsville. So ended up at Howard Payne, studied ministry, and then went to Southwestern.
Yes.
Got my master's there at Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth, and was a youth pastor, but started pastoring First Church down in Austin. Moved back to Fort Worth, and then went back to Southwestern to get my doctorate of ministry degree. So we've got 2 degrees from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary.
We got a lot in common.
We do.
Okay, so you're at Howard Payne. I'm gonna take a little detour.
Sure.
So how did you meet Robin? How did you get that girl to marry you? What happened on this?
Okay, well,
he's got a great wife. Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
She's awesome, and kind of a funny story. I transferred in as a sophomore, and she was a freshman, and she had a friend named Greg, and I had a friend named Laura. And Laura liked Greg. She thought Greg and Robin were an item. So she came to me one day and said, "Hey, I need you to get Robin away from Greg. I need you to ask Robin out so I can kind of put the moves on Greg." And so okay, sure, I'm up for that. And so I asked Robin out for a date, and I went to a movie and dinner. And of course, the rest is history. We get married. Laura and Greg went out one time and couldn't stand each other. So, God moves in mysterious ways. And so it was a good move. Best decision I ever made was asking her out on a date.
Oh, yeah, y'all are a team.
We are.
She's an asset.
She is all the way. Yeah, she's great. We love getting to do ministry together. Love doing life together. Love being empty nesters together too.
You're too young. I don't know how you're talking about this. So
yeah.
I bet I'm older than you, and you've already got them all out. My 2 boys are in here today, Hunter and Graham. They're sitting right here. They produced this show, and I have 2 girls.
Yeah.
So all 4 of my kids are still living in my house, and my oldest daughter, she's getting married this next year, and then I've got a daughter that's a sophomore in high school.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah. So I'm just amazed that everybody's out of the Marriott home, and
nobody's married though. I'm not a granddad yet. So
all right.
That's keeping me young too, I guess. So it happens. But
the Lord has blessed you. You're now helping to serve in a denomination. You're over a lot of churches. I think over 5,000 churches. And today we're going to talk about how to have a healthy church. And you have a really unique perspective on this. Tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
I love this.
Well, just think, talking about healthy church, we all want a healthy church. And I believe that as the staff goes, so goes the church. I mean, not to deny the power of the Holy Spirit, moving the Holy Spirit, but I think he kind of makes that formula work. And so a healthy staff equals a healthy church. And I think that all starts with a healthy pastor, healthy on every area and every aspect of who we are as human beings.
So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about healthy, like check up with the medical doctor? Let's elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, the Bible talks about Jesus. He grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and man. So that's the 4 quadrants of who we are as people, right? So he grew physically.
Yes.
So he took care of himself, eating right, getting enough rest. I think that's all important.
Well, y'all give us a tip on this because y'all may not can see it on the camera, but he's got muscles about to knock me over here. And he's a stout dude.
Must be a filter on the camera.
So we have a lot of pastors watch this show, Ronny. So what would that look like? Just real, because I know we skip over that, but I mean, you are very healthy looking. You have kids that are old, but you look young, man. So what's going on here? And your wife does too.
Well, yes, and she was kind of the inspiration behind that. We kind of started noticing some pictures and thinking about longevity in ministry and in life, and thought we've got to get healthy. So learning how to eat right was a big deal. Exercising, and plus, Frank, we have all known some pastors that don't necessarily take care of themselves and kind of get a little bit out of control. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be huffing and puffing, climbing up the platform to the podium, to the pulpit to preach. So that was kind of like, I knew I didn't want to be like that. So what do I have to do? And just drinking, we try to drink 10 glasses of water every day. We try to get enough rest every day. All that stuff is important and can easily be neglected. And it has impacts on your preaching, impact on your ministry, I think vision. And just when you don't feel good, it's hard to do good things.
So, and I've heard your wife talk about nutrition What's that like?
Yeah.
I mean, I said supplements. I mean, what should we be thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, we started with a program called Optavia, and she kind of got hooked on it first and then invited me to join her, which I'm glad I did. So it's just kind of a kickstart, just like any of those programs. It's meant to help you alter your life. I mean, that's the complaint we get of all those programs. Well, I did it for a while, then I got off and I gained on my weight back. Well, because you didn't change your eating habit, you didn't change your lifestyle. And so that's just kind of a catalyst to get you to do that. And it's not easy, but it's definitely profitable. But this was a program we found that was the easiest we'd ever done. And so, like I said, she started and I watched her lose weight. My sister was doing it. She lost weight. And I thought, okay, well, I need to get on board because they're going to be dragging me around. And so just learning how to eat healthy, how to eat clean, cut out a lot of the sugars and the breads and the red meat. But we don't devoid ourselves of all that, but we just do it, minimally. So it helps.
I just joined a gym.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it because they have a massage chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how often should we exercise?
Yeah, I think, substantial exercise at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I enjoy getting to lift weights. That's kind of one of my exercises I like to do. And I try to do a little bit more cardio with walking and stuff. But I'd rather play sports than go run or just walk. So find something active, even if it's pickleball. At least you're moving, you're doing something. And I think that's important. And it's easy to get stagnant, especially in our job. You do a lot of sitting, a lot of studying, a lot of writing. So you've got to make that just a regular part of your day as well and build it in or you're not going to do it.
So, let's see, exercise, nutrition, what else to be healthy?
Yeah. Get massages.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, we don't take time enough to de-stress and just relax. There are those times that we relax. As a pastor, as a minister, you understand it's hard to take a Sabbath.
Yes.
I mean, fortunately, I serve a church that allows me to take Fridays off. And I recommend that for every pastor and every church to allow their staff one day off during the week. Because Sunday is a work day for the most part. And so, and making that a priority and getting serious about taking care of your health and resting, taking your vacation time. I really urge our staff, you've got how many weeks to take off, you need to take them off. And I have to set that example. And I got to admit, that's hard. I think most of us are workaholics. And to take a couple weeks off, that's a little scary. But having a great staff to be able to back you up while you're gone allows you to do that. But you just have to do it. Your church needs you to do it. You got to refresh or you just get very stagnant.
Now, speaking of that, your church must be a really great church because they're going to let you be the president of the denomination and you're going to have to be gone some now, right?
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I felt comfortable taking this opportunity to serve as president because of our staff. And I got a great executive pastor and all across the board, from admins to staff, they just do a fantastic job. And so I know that there's not going to be any balls dropped, and even if they are, they're going to pick them up real quick. And so that gave me confidence to be away as much as this other role demands. But yeah, without that confidence, I wouldn't be signing up for that.
Well, there's a lot of us think that you are an amazing choice for that. And we know you're just going to be a big blessing. And I think you're going to have you're a great model to model to them. So a healthy pastor. So this is kind of setting the stage for the healthy church. What if you have an unhealthy pastor with the healthy church? I mean, is that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it works because you got a healthy pastor equates to a healthy staff. So you see that every person wants to be on a healthy staff, wants to work with a boss, so to speak, that loves them and cares for them. And that's not always the case, unfortunately, in a lot of churches. And so, as the pastor goes, so goes the staff. And if the pastor doesn't go well, then the staff goes. So you see a lot of turnover happening. Like, okay, well, let's finally, if that pastor is the only one that stays after a period of time, maybe there's an issue with that pastor and how he leads or manages. Because great education experiences that I had at college and seminary, I think that's changed now. But back in the day, we didn't study a lot about leadership, just how to lead people, how to manage people. There wasn't a lot of skills and leadership skills developed. It was all about managing a church, but not necessarily working with a staff. I had a great pastor one time tell me, say, the most difficulty you'll ever have being a pastor is with your staff. Congregation, you expect some difficulties there, but the staff is going to be the hardest to deal with. And, that's been proven to be true. And so developing that relationship and having first, a healthy person in the lead, and then equating that to the staff to make sure staff's taking their vacation, that you love on them, you care about them, and just creating that atmosphere that it's okay to fail. But we try to fail small.
Yeah.
In fact, we have value statements in our staff, like have crocodile skin. Yeah. Right? So that's a value statement. As a minister, you got to develop crocodile skin, because people are going to say things that can be hurtful.
Yeah.
Never lead alone. We should always be developing those that are under us. Enter the danger. Leaders enter the danger. We shouldn't run from it. We're called to run to it and help make a difference and solve the issue. So I think just understanding that and supporting that, just here are the 5 or 6 things we're going to do as a staff, creates that comfortability and that courage to be able to do what they've been called to do, because every leader wants to lead. Mm-hmm. And so you have to allow them to lead. Even though the buck stops here, I get that. And I'm fully aware, and I take full responsibility for that. So that's why I want my staff to be able to do a good job and know what they're called to do. And however I can support that, I see part of my job is to make them do better at their job as well.
It's so huge. We have so many pastors listening to this show. I heard a mentor tell me one time, he said that over 90% of all church problems emanate out of staff. Yeah. Is that pretty accurate?
I bet that's right on. Yeah, for sure. You see that. So that's, and people know. People know if your staff is dysfunctional, and it's going to reflect in the church and ultimately in divisions as well. And, I think that the big deal behind the whole pastor and the staff really kind of ramped up during COVID, when we saw the pressure of leading a church, making decisions, when to come back, when not to come back, mask, all the craziness we went through. And I know even now, as well as you do, that there are churches that are closing their doors because they couldn't manage through COVID. I had some really great friends pastoring some really significant churches just say, I can't do this anymore, and stepped away from ministry. Like, man, we've got to do something to address this. And that's when Rob and I kind of started doing just some fun stuff during COVID, funny videos. And we did a Wednesday morning Facebook Live telling funny stories for ministry. I did a challenge with my staff called Late Night with Ronny, to where I would compete with a staff member different ways. Sometimes it was through video because we couldn't be together. Just there was so much heaviness during that time. We thought, let's do something to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. Yeah. And that helped us get through and through all that we were facing. And I think hopefully it helped some others. We had a lot of good responses of, hey, thanks for making us laugh in a time we didn't get to laugh very much.
So during COVID, it's like almost like some churches started, internal fighting and stuff. And, we help a lot of churches, and we're just like, God, the church is hurting so bad. Yeah. We don't want to get in a fight, dividing the church over who's wearing a mask and who's not, and who's going to sit. I mean, all this stuff. And it's like, we're going to make this work. Yeah. You don't want to wear a mask, or wear a mask. We can figure this out. And instead of drawing all the lines and stuff.
Yes. Exactly.
And, there's some churches to this day right now, as of this broadcast, that haven't bounced back. And one of them I'm thinking about is a really great church in East Texas, but they're only at 60% of where they were when COVID hit. Yeah. They're only at 60% of the budget, but they're still at 100% of the staff. And I mean, the money's eaten down, and now they've gotten to the place where, I mean, they're hurting. Yeah. I mean, they're throwing stuff over the boat. Really? Yeah. It's a tough situation. What would you say to a church like that? What would you do if they're bailing water right now?
Yeah, I think that's true. You kind of have to reassess and kind of rework things, and you got to deal with reality. And unfortunately, when the money starts to diminish, then you got to make some tough decisions. Yeah. But just be open and honest about that. Say, here's where we are. It's not because, sometimes you have to let staff go. It's not because you're not doing a great job. We'd love to keep you, just we can't financially keep you. And those are tough decisions. And if you're a pastor in that situation, you need to surround yourself with people that are going to support you in this. You shouldn't try to do that all by yourself. Make sure you have a team of elders or leaders, whoever in your church, that you've talked this through and thought through with them, have good minds to think through this. All there are alternative ways to make it better and cope with what we've done. Selling stuff off, I know some churches sell some property off to make the budget, but also find out there are some ways to get some money. There's some grants available, different ministries available that can come alongside and help a church for an interim time to get their, feet back on solid ground. So there are a lot of options, but don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to admit, hey, we're hurting.
Yeah. That's
hard for pastors sometimes. We always talk about our numbers and our budgets, but man, we're also supposed to be there when each other hurts.
So we'll talk about this at the end where all the stuff is, but you also have a podcast called Crazy Pastor Podcast.
Yeah, because there are a lot of crazy pastors. You have to be a little bit crazy.
You do,
to do this job, this ministry. It's a calling, no doubt, but there's a little bit of craziness that goes. And so just a lot of the crazy stories that we've seen from pastors, some good, some bad, some ugly, and to share that. But that's the reason behind that podcast is here's maybe a church, a small church where just pastor's the only staff, or here's a church that's struggling. And here are some basic leadership principles that we've discovered that I think can help at least give you a firm footing on leadership. So it really is intended to kind of help the smaller churches and the small church pastor. And to know that it's okay to be a little crazy because you're not the only one.
Now, we're kind of right in the middle of the show right now, but let's say we got a pastor who says, I don't think my church is healthy, and I'm not sure I'm that healthy. What do you say to him? Does he need to be around other pastors? I mean, throw us some wisdom here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's one of the things we started when I first got to Burleson is we call it community pastors gathering. And it's that idea. We just do a lunch together once a month, and we have a little bit of program, but most of it's just building a network, building support, and being able to say, I'm dealing with this issue. And you know how refreshing it is when somebody else says, I've got the same problem in my church, or here's what I'm dealing with. So ministry is isolating. Being a pastor can be lonely. And so realizing that and try to fight against that. And yes, surround yourself with other pastors, especially in your area, and even of different sized churches, because some of those pastors in the larger church, they got there because they went through some really difficult issues in a smaller church. And so they understand that context as well. But also reaching out to your association or reaching out to your denomination. Yeah. Just say, hey, because they've got experts there that can help you through this. That's the biggest danger, I think, is pastors that withdraw and try to figure out on their own. And yes, I believe in prayer and moving the Holy Spirit, but God also gave us a mind to think and connections to surround us with other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody that's struggling with this, that they need to plug in and not be Lone Ranger and try to just take it all on themselves.
I agree. Yeah. And I think just having some friends too, friends either in the church or outside the church. I know it's a little risky sometimes having friends inside the church, but even if not, develop some friendships. As much as we talk about getting together as pastors for a luncheon, we also, let's just go to a ball game together. Mm-hmm. Let's just be real people. We're not always able to be real in who we are authentically in front of everybody, but you need that group that you can let the walls down and just say, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, or I'm afraid I don't know how to navigate this, and so you've got people that will surround you that are true friends, that'll love you, that are closer than a brother, that'll be there through thick and thin. But there's also great tools. There's great resources, books, podcasts. There's all kinds of videos and stuff out there of pastors that can give wisdom. I think another one of our value statements is be a lifelong learner. That's true for pastors. We're learning scripture and theology. We also need to continue to learn how to be a pastor because none of us have it all figured out. COVID made that pretty clear. And just to think that we do is going to be dangerous for you and your church.
So I want to ask you a question, and this is we didn't plan this. This is a crazy one, but thinking about your ministry, you've been in small church, big church, you've had different things, and now your church is going, man. I mean, you might just tell us what's happening at your church, because I celebrate the success, but y'all are exploding.
Yeah, we are. Some great things. One of the things we started several years ago was a residency program. And this is to give people who are either in education, training for ministry, or just feel a call to ministry, to kind of give them some hands-on experience. And I can't tell you how much that has blessed our church. Our intent was to bless them and give them some learning experience. Again, a place where they can be safe, a place where they can fail, but fail small without ripping a church apart. But the blessing has been to our church is to have, and most of them are in their 20s, early 30s. So they bring a lot of youthfulness, a lot of vision, a lot of great ideas. And, like we ask 20 hours a week for them, and, we pay them a stipend to serve, but we get much more than that out of them. And they love being there. So that's a big help. We also feel like we are there to help make Burleson a better place to live for everybody, not just our church. And so through food pantry, we have a charity medical clinic now, we have a counseling center, as well as all the different activities we do with the community in mind. Because we want to, ask the question, if First Burleson were to disappear tomorrow, would anybody miss us? We want to make sure that we would leave a gaping hole behind if we were gone. And so I think God has blessed that, focus on that mission as well as global missions. He's added, we're dealing with a new building now to reach our students. He's placed us in a great location right next to Old Town Burleson that is growing with restaurants and apartments coming in. So again, the favor of God with our location, the favor of God with our facilities, favor of God with our staff and who he's called, surrounding us with a bunch of leaders, and word gets out. But the main thing that we've done, and we started this during COVID, is we work with a group called Communio. And so we're able to find marriages that are in crisis in our community.
Oh.
And so we started with, through them, doing virtual date nights. So you could download this for you and your wife. And there was a cooking segment, there was an entertainment segment, there was, just some fun stuff to do. And then once we were able to come out of COVID, we started having that on campus. We just did 4 Wednesday nights in a row of date night, inviting people from our community. So we had a lot that were not a part of our church. Some were first time to our church. And so through that marriage ministry, we've seen a lot of growth. We just had 60 people join our church last Sunday, and a bulk of that came from that marriage ministry.
Wow.
Because that's an issue everybody's dealing with.
Yeah.
And so helping those marriages in a crisis, like tonight, we're starting a financial peace university because now we're dealing with the finances, which is one of the top 3 reasons for divorce.
Yeah.
Right? So everything kind of builds on itself, and God's blessing that like crazy, and we're seeing the growth from it.
Wow. That's so impressive.
Yeah.
So I got to give a shout out to your wife, Robin.
Yes.
And so she's awesome. So I see her name on the book that you brought. It says Ronny and Robin Marriott.
Yes.
And the book's called So That Really Happened.
Yeah.
So I've not read this book. I didn't even know this book existed. Could you talk about that?
Yes.
I'm dying to know what's happening here on this book.
And I do have a copy for you.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's it, given this plug, as shameful as that is. But this kind of came out of the whole thing with COVID, and we were doing the videos and the Facebook Live, and we just thought, let's share a communication, what's going on in church so people stay connected, but then let's try to tell a funny ministry story. So through several of those videos, we finally had people say, you need to just write this stuff down. We've been doing ministry for a while, right? Yeah. We've been here a little bit. So we've seen some things. And so we did. So we just sat down and wrote down all these stories of ministry that we experienced that made us laugh, that were funny. So they're all funny stories, but also we learned some lessons. So it's called From Ha-Ha to Aha Moments. So from laughter to lessons. So we learned some lessons through this and thought, we want to just put this in a book and for other people to hopefully help them laugh.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a pastor or minister, you can relate to this book in many ways. If you go to church, if you've ever been in church, you can relate to a lot of these stories. One of my favorite stories is when we were living in Dripping Springs. I was pastoring my first church. We had 3 kids and we were dirt poor. And there was a generous family in our church. They bought a new Suburban, so they gave us their old one, and it was a great gift. And my wife was taking their daughter home. She'd been babysitting our kids. And of course, this is out in the country. So this is very rural. We were city people. This was foreign to us. She's going to turn around, and big Suburban, not used to driving. So she's going to turn around their yard, and the Suburban gets stuck. Right. So she's spinning the tires and mud's flying all over, and the kids are in the car. And she asked our oldest, Molly, said, look out, roll down the window and look out and see, am I stuck in a puddle or something? Because it had been raining. And so as soon as Molly rolls the window down, she said, this aroma just fills the car. And she realized, this is not mud. This is something else. So my wife drove the Suburban that was given to us by that family into their septic tank.
Oh,
no. So busted the lid, and that wasn't mud. It was spinning around in the back of the car. So the deacon had to come and pull her out of the septic tank that she busted, put a big hole in the lid.
Deacons are awesome.
They are. He was great. Didn't fuss about it. Didn't make a big deal about it. She was embarrassed, and he was very gracious. But one of those live and learn stories on driving Suburbans through people's yards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back on track because we only have a few minutes left. Sure. But kind of guide us. Any more thoughts you have on healthy pastors to healthy churches?
Yeah, I think that's, I talked about our residence program. It's been interesting, Frank, that so many of the people that when we interview them for the job, make sure they're a good fit, is some of them are coming from hurtful situations and they just say, I'm just looking for a healthy church. I want to experience what that's like. And that is our goal. And that's not always easy to accomplish, but I think that's God's desire for our churches to be healthy, whatever that looks like for each church. I think it's dishonoring to him when it's unhealthy. We've all heard those terrible stories of church splits. And I think that really starts at the top. I think it starts at the top down, that the pastor's walking with the Lord and building on his call, learning. That trickles down the staff, and then that trickles down to the church. So as the pastor goes, so goes the church ultimately. Because they develop the same personality and the same desires as part of that vision. But I think, and there's ways to make churches healthy. It's not an impossible thing to do. Again, I think that's what God desires, and finding the right tools to make that happen, relying on the Holy Spirit to cause it. But still, there's some things you can do to create healthy cultures in your staff and in your church.
Well, any closing thoughts here before I ask you for some info?
Yeah, no, I mean, just the pastors that are watching.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes to God's call. I know it has its challenges, ups and downs, but again, make sure you're taking care of you. Make sure you're taking care of your family, and that will empower you to be able to take care of your church. So keep doing what you're doing. And if you're not doing well, tell somebody.
Well, you've been listening to Dr. Ronny Marriott, Burleson, Texas. And Dr. Marriott, yes. How can we find out more? How can we get a copy of this book? How can we watch your sermons? Do you have anything else that we can get by support?
Sure.
Tell us everything.
Sure. Yes. You can go to our website at firstburleson.org. And you can find sermons. You can find all of our material there. Our book is on Amazon. So it's just So That Really Happened is the title. From aha to ha-ha moments. From ha-ha to aha moments. And you can order that online, or you can email me at rmarriott@firstburleson.org, and I can send you a copy as well. And also, our podcast is on Apple and Spotify. So if you'd like to go listen to those podcasts, if you'd like to go listen to those podcasts and hear a little bit more about crazy pastors, but hopefully learn a lot too, we'd love to have you join us for our podcast.
What's a recent episode you've done recently? Crazy Pastor podcast. What would be one episode?
We did a lot about the culture, about setting the culture in the church, and we realized, my executive pastor and I have been there 7 years, and whatever the culture is now, that's on us. We have that responsibility to set that culture, and we can't blame anybody else except us. And so, how to develop that culture that is a healthy culture is a responsibility of the pastor. So we give you some insights, some practical ways on how to deal with culture, some cultural statements that we use that are universal, could be effective for any church. So we try to be practical as well.
That's great. Crazy Pastor podcast with Dr. Ronny Marriott. And also be sure and get a copy of So That Really Happened, because my friend Robin, she co-wrote this book. So
she did.
If there's any royalties, she's going to get half. So I want you to buy this book. Be sure and share this episode with somebody, especially your pastor or another pastor you know. And God bless you. And we will see you in the next episode of Defending the Faith. Well, God bless you, and thank you for tuning in to this wonderful episode of Defending the Faith. If you want to find out more about us, go to www.defendingthefaith.law. And there you can find resources about why Christianity is true, how to know God exists. You can find out about our SHIELD program and join us and become a partner with us. And one of the things that happens out of that is you could get a free will and leave a legacy. And, so many people, they don't have wills. And so it's one of the things that we do make available to our Shield members, to our church Shield members, and also to our Shield members who are partners with us in our ministry. We pray that you've been blessed, and we will see you in the next episode of Defending the Faith.